Chapter 11 Uchiha Fugaku's Kaleidoscope. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 11 Uchiha Fugaku's Kaleidoscope. Although Uchiha Qiaoshan used the pupil technique to enslave Uchiha Fugaku, he still respected him very much. Master Patriarch, can you tell me what other backup plans you have? After hearing what Uchiha Qiaoshan said, Uchiha Fugaku nodded and explained. Qiaoshan, do you know the forbidden technique that belongs only to our Uchiha clan? Uchiha Qiaoshan guessed, Susanoo. Although Uchiha Fugaku was surprised that Uchiha Okayama knew about Susanoo, he still shook his head. Susanoo is the divine power that belongs exclusively to the Mangekyou Sharingan. However, it is not a forbidden technique. The forbidden technique belonging to our Uchiha clan is Izanagi. It is a technique that can change fate and can change everything. If the technique is not good for me, even if I die, as long as I set Izanagi in Sharingan in advance, and when the time I set comes, Izanagi activates, I can be resurrected. I felt something was wrong when you activated the pupil technique. Just in case, just before you controlled me, I set up Izanagi in the Sharingan. After a while, I resurrected myself and eliminated it. Everything is working against me. Unexpectedly, your pupil technique makes me willingly obey your orders and prohibits me from doing anything that is detrimental to you. Because the Izanagi I set before is not good for you, so I had to cancel it. Hearing Uchiha Fugaku's explanation, Uchiha Qiaoshan was terrified. He knew that he had been on the verge of failure and defection. The person who could become the leader of the Uchiha clan was indeed not an easy person. If he was lazy when using other gods and left loopholes, then Uchiha Fugaku might make a comeback. Izanagi is a forbidden technique of the Uchiha clan, because no matter how unnatural the effect of using it is, the cost of using it is that the user's Sharingan eye is permanently blind, so it is listed as a forbidden technique by the Uchiha clan. Technique. Clan leader, I just saw that your Mangekyou Sharingan has been activated. So, what is its pupil technique? Uchiha Qiaoshan actually cares most about the evolution of his Sharingan. With the help of the system, he can copy other people's kaleidoscope eye skills and use them for your own use. Uchiha Qiaoshan understood that except for his own strength, everything was fake. Now, since Uchiha Fugaku has been controlled, of course, he must copy his kaleidoscope eye technique. My kaleidoscope pupil technique, my left eye is the illusion, instant spacetime, which can bring the enemy's spiritual body into the illusion space in my eyes. In the world of my eyes, the enemy has no ability to resist me, and it seems like it has passed in the outside world. For a moment, in fact, a month has passed in my illusion space. However, it can only be used once a day. Uchiha Fugaku began to talk about his ability to use the pupil technique. It seems to be Uchiha Itachi's pupil technique, an enhanced version of Tsukuyomi, but it seems not as good as Tsukuyomi's ability to control space and time in Tsukuyomi's space, but the time is longer than Tsukuyomi's. Uchiha Qiaoshan touched his chin and listened to Uchiha Fugaku's story. The kaleidoscope eye technique in the right eye is Izanagi. Hearing Uchiha Fugaku's words, Uchiha Qiaoshan almost jumped up. How could it be possible? It was simply unbelievable. Uchiha Fugaku didn't care about Qiaoshan's reaction. I have already told you about the function of Izanagi. However, as the eye technique of my kaleidoscope, its side effect is no longer blindness, but can only be used once a month. Moreover, compared to ordinary Izanagi, my pupil technique was activated for a very short time, otherwise, it would not have been set up in an instant just now. Uchiha Qiaoshan put his hand on his forehead. Sure enough, you can't underestimate the people of the world, let alone the Uchiha clan. This is simply cheating. No wonder there are only a few members of the Uchiha clan left, and the ninja world is not peaceful. To avoid long nights and many dreams, Uchiha Qiaoshan decided to copy Uchiha Fugaku's Mangekyou eye technique now, so that his Sharingan would soon be ready for upgrade. Clan leader, open your Mangekyou Sharingan and don't resist. Uchiha Qiaoshan ordered. Okay. Although Uchiha Fugaku didn't know what Qiaoshan wanted to do, He still opened his kaleidoscope directly, seeing Uchiha Fugaku's Mangekyo Sharingan. Uchiha Choshan suppressed his joy of being able to obtain the pupil technique again soon, and also opened his own 3 Magatama Sharingan, because he wants to copy Uchiha Fugaku's Mangekyo Sharingan now, so he can't open Uchiha Shisui's Mangekyo Sharingan. Shisui's Sharingan-sai technique is better god. He wants to copy Uchiha Fugaku. The pupil technique can only start with 3 Magatama now. Uchiha Choshan pointed his 3 Magatama Sharingan at Uchiha Fugaku's kaleidoscope. He saw the 3 Magatama in Choshan's eyes spinning faster and faster. Soon, his 3 Magatama Sharingan slowly transformed into Uchiha Fugaku's kaleidoscope. The pattern of Fugaku's kaleidoscope is exactly the same, and Fugaku's pupil techniques illusion, instant space, and Izanagi were also copied by Uchiha Okayama. At this time, it is equivalent to copying the potential, background and characteristics of Uchiha Fugaku's Sharingan, and integrating it with the potential, background and characteristics of Uchiha Shisui's Sharingan, because Uchiha Kiwama's system is not only to copy the pupil technique of Manjikyu. If he only copies the pupil technique, it will only cause Kiwama's eyes to deteriorate faster the more he uses them. Only when he copies the pupil technique, his Sharingan will also be copied. Only by copying the eye's potential, heritage, and characteristics can Uchiha Choshan's Sharingan be upgraded and have a broader space for development. Uchiha's Sharingan is divided into Genjutsu eyes and compound eyes according to their characteristics. The representative of Genjutsu eyes is Uchiha Shisui. After Uchiha Choshan copied Shisui's Mangekyo eye technique, he also copied the characteristics of his eyes. The copy was made, which greatly enhanced Uchiha Choshan's illusion ability. The representatives of the compound eye are Uchiha Choshan and Uchiha Obito. Needless to say, Uchiha Choshan, and Hitaki Kakashi later broke through with the Sharingan given to him by Uchiha Obito. Copy Ninja Kakashi's title, therefore, in the future, as long as Uchiha Choshan copies more Sharingan, the more potential, characteristics and background his Sharingan will gain, and the system can use these things as nourishment for the upgrade and evolution of Uchiha Choshan's Sharingan. It does not require the transplantation of other people's Mangekyo Sharingan, nor Hashirama's cells, to help him continuously upgrade the Mangekyo Sharingan into the Mangekyo Sharingan, the Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, the Rinnegan, and the Magatama Rinnegan. Chapter 12 Madam, you don't want to either. You are listening at novelfull.audio. And just when Choshan copied Uchiha Fugaku's Manjikyu's pupil technique, slowly closed the Sharingan, and breathed a sigh of relief in his heart, Itachi passed through his back, the sword penetrated his chest, and at the same time, it also penetrated his beating heart. Things developed so fast and suddenly that before Uchiha Choshan could react, he only felt a chill on his back and sharp pain in his heart, and then watched helplessly as a bloody Tachi penetrated his chest. There are many things like this. Everything went smoothly before, and when you were about to achieve your goal, something suddenly happened that caught you off guard. Uchiha Choshan opened his mouth to say something, but his lips trembled a few times, but still no words came out. His body, which had been sitting upright, slowly became rickety. Uchiha Choshan felt that he had no strength all over his body, and slowly, the body could no longer hold on, and fell to the side, revealing a slim figure standing behind Uchiha Choshan. When Uchiha Choshan fell, Uchiha Mikoto also let go of her tight grip on the sword. Maybe it was because she was too nervous, and her fingers were trembling slightly. Her face turned a little pale, and the 3 Magatama in her eyes moved slowly. Choshan-kun, I didn't want to kill you originally, but if I don't kill you, I can't guarantee that Fugaku can recover. He is my husband, the father of my 2 children, and the leader of the Uchiha clan, so for it's all right, please go die. Uchiha Mikoto seemed to be saying these words to Uchiha Choshan, and seemed to be convincing herself. After saying these words, her trembling body slowly regained its composure, turned around and walked towards Uchiha Fugaku. Uchiha Choshan lay on the ground helplessly. When he heard Uchiha Mikoto's voice, he knew where he had made a mistake. He underestimated others, and underestimated Uchiha Mikoto. He thought that it would be enough to control Uchiha Fugaku. Unexpectedly, Uchiha Mikoto had already discovered something was wrong. When he was most relaxed, he killed him with one strike, and made him come back. There is no chance. Uchiha Choshan felt cold all over his body, and his eyesight turned black. He knew that he didn't have much time left for him. Now, the thousands of ninjutsu I have learned cannot save me, and my kaleidoscope cannot save me. It's an illusion. It can only be used on others, and it can't save yourself. You can only rely on the system and the Izanagi you just copied. Just when Uchiha Okayama opened the kaleidoscope and planned to use Izanagi, the system's beep completely crushed his hopes. Friendly reminder to the host, the pupil technique Izanagi is being learned to digest and is expected to be available for use in 1 hour. Damn system, after 1 hour, I will be cold and still use a hammer. Uchiha Choshan cursed desperately. At this moment, the system seemed to know the critical situation of Uchiha Choshan, and the reminder sound kept reminding. It is detected that the host's life is in danger. The system suspends the learning and digestion of the pupil technique illusion, instant space. The learning and digestion of the pupil technique Izanagi has been strengthened. It is expected to be completed in half an hour. It has been detected that the host's life safety has been threatened. The system is operating at full capacity to speed up the learning and digestion of the pupil technique Izanagi. It is expected to be completed in 10 minutes. It has been detected that the host is in danger, the system is overloaded, and the learning and digestion of the pupil technique Izanagi has been strengthened. It is expected to be completed in 5 minutes. Please hold on, host. As long as you persist, there is hope. Please host, hold on. As long as you persist, there is hope. Uchiha Choshan heard the system's reminder sound constantly ringing in his mind, as if the system was also anxious. I couldn't help but complain in my heart. It's a useless system. I can't last 5 minutes, so you can't hurry up. Uchiha Choshan only felt that his eyes were dim, and his consciousness was slowly slipping, falling into the bottomless abyss. The sound of the system is still echoing in my ears. At this moment, Uchiha Choshan heard a voice. This voice seemed to resound through the entire world of Uchiha Choshan, tearing apart the darkness and bringing a ray of light. Izanagi. That when Uchiha Choshan came back to his senses, he saw that he was still sitting at the table, and next to him was Uchiha Fugaku, who was raising a cup of tea, as if everything that just happened was an illusion. The only difference from before was that there was a tachi placed next to the table, as if someone had randomly discarded it there, and next to Uchiha Fugaku, there was a person lying down, as if he had fallen asleep. Uchiha Choshan touched his body and found that the wounds on his body were gone. He knew that all this might be related to Uchiha Fugaku, so he looked at him. Uchiha Fugaku put the teacup on the table and looked at Uchiha Choshan. This is the power of Izanagi. It can change all the fate that is not conducive to oneself according to one's own wishes. Just now, Mikoto saw that I was under your control, and thought that by killing you, I could break away from you. In fact, she doesn't know that even if she kills you, my consciousness has changed and I can't escape your control. I'm really sorry, but I almost killed you because of Mikoto's recklessness, so I knocked her unconscious and used Izanagi to change everything. After hearing Uchiha Fugaku's explanation, Uchiha Choshan couldn't help but touch his chest in fear. It was here just now that the tachi penetrated through. Uchiha Choshan stabilized his mind and began to think about the solution. Now, Uchiha Mikoto now knew that he controlled Uchiha Fugaku. However, Uchiha Mikoto, as the wife of the patriarch of the Uchiha clan, the Uchiha genius Uchiha Itachi mother, if she disappeared suddenly, it would be too eye-catching. But if Uchiha Mikoto is not allowed to disappear, how can we ensure that the news that he controls the clan leader will not spread? At this moment, Uchiha Fugaku suddenly said, Master Choshan, can you still use the pupil technique that you just controlled me with? If so, I hope you can use it on Mikoto. In this case, the news that I was controlled by you will not be spread. This will be beneficial to you, no? He will be feared by the clan members and the higher-ups of Konoha village. Hearing Uchiha Fugaku's words, Uchiha Choshan nodded in agreement. In fact, in Choshan's heart, his remaining other god had other uses. However, when Uchiha Choshan looked at Uchiha Mikoto, who was lying there with a slim figure and a beautiful face, he could only comfort himself in his heart. It seems that there is no other way. I can only use other gods on Mikoto. I have no other way. Uchiha Choshan thought as he walked towards Uchiha Mikoto. Chapter 13 Uchiha's Way Out. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The Uchiha clan has always produced handsome boys and beauties, and Uchiha Mikoto was a famous beauty in the Uchiha clan back then. Although she is now more than 30 years old, the years have not left many traces on her body, but she has gained some maturity. The charm, in order to prevent the news of Uchiha Fugaku being controlled from spreading, Uchiha Choshan had no other choice but to control Uchiha Mikoto. Choshan picked up Mikoto Uchiha from the tatami, and used palm senjutsu with his right hand to wake up Mikoto from her coma. When Uchiha Mikoto woke up and just opened her eyes, still a little confused, she faced Uchiha Okayama's Mangekyo Sharingan. Before Uchiha Mikoto could figure out the situation, Uchiha Choshan's other gods activated. A special force quietly invaded her brain and changed Uchiha Mikoto's thoughts and will, so that she would obey Uchiha Choshan's orders in the future, and Uchiha Mikoto was eventually controlled by Uchiha Choshan. Uchiha Okayama slowly closed the Mangekyo Sharingan, and at this time Uchiha Mikoto's consciousness also woke up. When he saw Choshan, he immediately got up and no longer yelled at him to kill him. Instead, he knelt on the ground and lowered his head to Uchiha Choshan. I'm very sorry, Master Choshan. I was rude just now and caused harm to you. Please forgive me for my rudeness. Hearing her voice, he was very frightened. Uchiha Choshan looked at Mikoto with her head lowered there. It seemed that she would not raise her head no matter what without his permission and forgiveness. He couldn't help but feel very satisfied with the pupil technique of alternate god. In the original work, Uchiha Shisui's other gods' abilities are so incredible, but they are not used in the right places. One was used by Danzo Shimura in the 5 Kage conference, and was exposed in person, and the other was used to help. Uchiha Itachi's Earth reincarnation was out of control, and he always felt that although it had some effect, it was all used for trivial matters. In this world where the most evasive people are, if you want to ensure that you are not betrayed, of course you still have to use the other gods. Seeing that Uchiha Mikoto was still kneeling there with her head bowed, and Uchiha Fugaku next to him was silent and had no intention of helping to plead for mercy, Uchiha Choshan had no choice but to ask Mikoto to get up. Get up. I don't blame you. We have different positions. It is inevitable. You must work hard to do things for me in the future. I will forgive you this time. After hearing Uchiha Choshan's words, Mikoto finally raised her head that had been lowered, and the tears in her eyes finally fell down. Thank you, sir. I will definitely go through fire and water in the future, no matter what. I will do my best to complete your mission. Looking at Uchiha Mikoto's rainy appearance, even the hard-hearted Choshan couldn't help but feel a little overwhelmed. Had to change the topic. Where did Uchiha Itachi and Sasuke go? With Uchiha Mikoto as a warning, Choshan felt that it was necessary to find out these unsettling factors. If Uchiha Itachi noticed any clues, based on his IQ, he would be a good friend to Uchiha Choshan. Huge safety hazard. Hearing Choshan mention Itachi and Sasuke, as their mother, Uchiha Mikoto's expression couldn't help but become gentle. Back to my lord, Itachi has received a mission and has been out of the village for the past few days. As for Sasuke, he is sleeping in his bedroom. Choshan breathed a sigh of relief when he heard that Uchiha Itachi, whom he cared about most, had gone out to do a mission. As long as Itachi wasn't at home, he was sure that nothing would be noticed when he returned. As for Sasuke, with his age and talent, Choshan was reassured that nothing would go wrong. Now that things are almost settled and there is no one who can stop Uchiha Choshan, it is time to get down to business. Uchiha Okayama asked Fugaku and Mikoto to sit down and began a formal conversation with the clan leader. Lord Patriarch, do you know why I used the pupil technique to control you? Uchiha Fugaku shook his head. It's not very clear, but if an ambitious person has a pupil technique like Master Choshan, then it is understandable that he uses the power of pupil technique to control some leaders or people with higher status. After hearing what Uchiha Fugaku said, Uchiha Choshan shook his head. Although Uchiha Fugaku was now taking orders from him, Choshan still explained it clearly to him. Patriarch, my interest has always been to pursue strength and various methods to improve strength, rather than to pursue power. If there was no other way, I would not take the risk to control you and the Patriarch's wife. Uchiha Choshan pointed to his eyes and said meaningfully. My eyes can see much further than yours. Uchiha Fugaku was not an idiot. He seemed to have thought of something and blurted it out. Can your eyes see the future? Choshan nodded. Almost, I can see fragments of the future. With that said, he told Fugaku what he had told Uchiha Shisui before. It's about the tragic death of Uchiha Shisui and the annihilation of the Uchiha clan. After Uchiha Fugaku heard Choshan's words, he couldn't believe that such a thing would happen in the future. He sat there blankly, unable to recover for a long time. Is what I did wrong? Shouldn't I be close to the third generation in Konoha? Should I, like the Great Elder, intensify the conflict with Konoha? Only in this way can I preserve the Uchiha clan. Uchiha Fugaku was a little confused about the future of the Uchiha clan and didn't know what to do. What he has always believed is that as long as the gap between Uchiha and Konoha can be reconciled, the Uchiha clan will be able to completely integrate into Konoha village sooner or later. When Uchiha Fugaku saw Uchiha Fugaku getting into the horns, he couldn't help but shook his head. It was wrong from the beginning. Do you know who has always been in power in Konoha village? Of course I know. The Hokage family has always been in power in Konoha. The first, second, and third generations. Our Uchiha family has never been in power. Uchiha Fugaku replied. Yes, it has always been the Hokage line. Uchiha Choshan nodded. Then do you know who has the final say in Konoha village now? It's the second generation's apprentices, the third generation Hokage and Shimura Danzo. They inherited the second generation's legacy and have been guarding us and isolating us. As long as they are in power for one day, Uchiha will not have a chance to succeed. Uchiha Fugaku quickly asked, then what should we do? There are two ways. One is to break away from Konoha and let us, the Uchiha clan, build a village ourselves. That way there will be no problem. The second way is to delay. If you can, delay. When the cooling time of my pupil technique has passed, I can control the top management of Konoha, or control the people below. In this way, Konoha village is what we say. It's not that we are isolated, but that we isolate others. Chapter 14 Uchiha Mikoto. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In fact, Uchiha Choshan knows very well that everything else is secondary. The most important thing is to improve his own strength. As long as his strength reaches the super shadow level, or the six paths level, then anyone who is not convinced will be easily suppressed. You don't need to care about other people's opinions at all. At this moment, the system that was useless at the critical moment finally had a voice. Congratulations to the host, the pupil technique illusion, instant space, has been learned and digested. Congratulations to the host, the pupil technique Izanagi, has been learned and digested. The side effects of the host's kaleidoscope are further reduced, the usage time is increased again, and the kaleidoscope Sharingan is strengthened. The host should understand the specific situation. Ding, it has been detected that the host's Mangekyo Sharingan I has been strengthened. The host's own Mangekyo Sharingan I technique will be conceived earlier. It is expected to be completed in 8 hours. Please wait patiently. Hearing this, Uchiha Choshan was also relatively happy. Although he still had to wait, his own pupil technique was about to be released. Then, Uchiha Choshan immediately began to check the pupil techniques he had just obtained, illusion, instant space, and Izanagi. Uchiha Choshan was looking forward to it very much for Izanagi. It was the forbidden technique of the Uchiha clan. It was a forbidden technique that could rewrite fate and reverse cause and effect. Unexpectedly, Uchiha Fugaku, who was so unassuming, actually used a big move for himself. After reading it, Uchiha Choshan was still very satisfied. Although the power of Izanagi has not been strengthened, the cooling time has been shortened. Compared with Uchiha Fugaku, who can use it once a month, the Izanagi belonging to Kiwama has been systematically studied and digested and blessed by Kiwama's Mangekyo Sharingan, which is much more powerful than Uchiha Fugaku, and the cooling time of Izanagi, it can be used once every 3 days, and its practicality has been greatly enhanced. The cooldown time of the pupil technique illusion, instant space, is gone. As long as you have enough chakra, you can give it to a group of children. Also, because Uchiha Choshan copied and learned the Mangekyo Sharingan of Uchiha Shisui and Uchiha Fugaku, after digestion, Uchiha Choshan's Mangekyo Sharingan is more powerful than the ordinary Mangekyo Sharingan. It is estimated that when his Mangekyo Sharingan is conceived, it will reach the limit of the Mangekyo Sharingan that can have pupil skills. Other people's Mangekyo Sharingan can only have 1 pupil technique per eye, but Choshan has 3 pupil techniques in 1 eye. Eye technique. When Uchiha Choshan's Mangekyo Sharingan reaches its peak, we can plan and find ways to achieve the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. Although Uchiha Choshan's eyes have not yet reached the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, but in terms of observation, copying and illusion abilities, they are far superior to the ordinary Mangekyo Sharingan. After checking the system's information about the kaleidoscope, Uchiha Choshan looked at Uchiha Fugaku and his wife, who were still waiting for him, and then ordered them. "Chief, we only have these 2 directions now. Moreover, even if we Uchiha want to leave Konoha, it is not that easy. We have to take our time. We can first secretly move some clan members out and build a small village. Let Uchiha Shisui lead people to guard it, which can also ensure the safety of the clan members. The most important thing now is to appease the emotions of the tribe. I have already gone to see the great elder. He promised to be patient in the past few years. When I grow up, my strength will reach the peak of the shadow level. It can even reach the super shadow level. Even if we don't control the 3rd generation in them, it's up to us whether we want to leave or stay." In fact, in the original work, Uchiha Shisui trusted the 3rd Hokage too much and told the 3rd Hokage about his pupil technique, who in turn informed Danzo, only to be set up a trap by them, resulting in Uchiha Shisui not fully growing up. It was completely destroyed by them, and Uchiha Itachi was so miserably deceived by the 3rd Hokage's will of fire that he thought he was doing everything for the village. He didn't even think about the fact that his relatives and clan members were gone, and everything he cherished was gone. No more, then, is this village still our own village? Whether or not this village exists has anything to do with me. In the end, only his poor Odo was left in the village as a hostage. After Uchiha Choshan discussed with Uchiha Fugaku the future development of the Uchiha clan, he finally felt relieved. In this way, as long as no big accident happens to the Uchiha clan, it should not be annihilated. After finishing the business, Uchiha Choshan also relaxed. He felt that this adventure was to control the clan leader. Although the process was full of twists and turns and he almost died, the harvest was gratifying. Not only did he control the Uchiha Fugaku couple, but also Uchiha with the entire clan in the palm of his hand, and 2 good eye skills gained. The goal this time can be said to have been successfully accomplished, and just when Uchiha Choshan was about to leave, he was left by Uchiha Fugaku and his wife. It was already late at night. Even if Uchiha Choshan went back, he still lived alone. As the clan leader, Uchiha Fugaku had no one else. But the house is the largest in the Uchiha clan, so there is no problem in leaving Uchiha Choshan overnight. Uchiha Choshan was lying in another room of the bedroom. Although it was almost midnight, he was not sleepy at all. "I didn't feel it just now, but now in the dead of night, I feel a little scared." He was too reckless and came without any preparation. This was the closest he got to death. The feeling of powerlessness, fear, gradually blurring consciousness, and the feeling of falling into the abyss. Uchiha Choshan felt that he had been there all his life. Can't forget it. Uchiha Choshan secretly reminded himself that he must be fully prepared in the future. His life comes first, life is priceless. Just when Uchiha Choshan turned over and was about to fall asleep, he suddenly heard someone approaching the door and immediately became alert. At this time, there were only Uchiha Fugaku and Uchiha Sasuke in the house. The Fugakus had been conquered by him. And Sasuke is still a little kid and can't threaten him. However, Chiyo-shan still did not let down his guard. Who is it? That the visitor didn't expect that she would be discovered by Uchiha Chiyo-shan before she knocked on the door. He paused before answering. Mr. Chiyo-shan, this is me. It's already midnight. You must be hungry, so I will give you some food. When Uchiha Chiyo-shan heard that it was Uchiha Mikoto, he felt relieved and opened the door. I saw Mikoto Uchiha standing pretty at the door, holding a tray full of food in her hands. She was wearing a very thin kimono, which showed her curvy figure. Maybe it was because the clothes were too thin, and the front was faintly visible. Yaya highlighted 2 small dots, and when she saw Uchiha Chiyo-shan looking at her, Mikoto's face turned red, and stars seemed to be twinkling in her eyes. Chapter 15 Give Sasuke a Younger Brother. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Uchiha Chiyo-shan was stunned, and when he saw Uchiha Mikoto still standing at the door, he immediately let her in. When Mikoto passed by him, Chiyo-shan seemed to smell a faint fragrance. I saw Uchiha Mikoto kneeling down at the small tatami table and placing the snacks brought to her. Uchiha Chiyo-shan looked from behind, and the close-fitting clothes made his beautiful figure even more curvy. After Uchiha Mikoto put things away, she saw that Uchiha Chiyo-shan was still standing at the door and had not come over, so she quickly greeted him. Chiyo-shan-kun, you must be hungry too, come here and try my handiwork. He said, pouring a glass of sake for Uchiha Chiyo-shan. Uchiha Chiyo-shan came to his senses when he heard Mikoto's greeting. Seeing that Mikoto had all been laid out, he was indeed a little hungry, so he didn't hesitate to sit over and eat these pretty good-looking snacks. Uchiha Mikoto knelt down next to him, recommending the snacks she made to Uchiha Chiyo-shan and helping him fill up his empty wine glass. Is it hard for Chiyo-shan-kun? Uchiha Mikoto said while helping Chiyo-shan pour the wine. Uchiha Chiyo-shan paused and looked at Mikoto with doubtful eyes. Ever since Chiyo-shan-kun awakened the power of the eyes that can predict the future, Chiyo-shan-kun has taken the fate of the Uchiha clan on his shoulders. He worked hard back and forth to change the fate of the Uchiha, and even risked his life. In the end, he was almost killed by me. Kill, Mr. Chiyo-shan, I'm really sorry. As she said that, Uchiha Mikoto burst into tears again and almost started crying. Uchiha Chiyo-shan put down his wine glass and looked at Uchiha Mikoto with a confused expression. He didn't expect her brainstorming ability to be so powerful. He could only comfort him. It's okay, madam, this is what I should do as a member of Uchiha. Since Uchiha Mikoto thinks so, Chiyo-shan doesn't have the nerve to refute. Do you want to tell her that I have actually been ready to run away for a long time? Okay, I don't mean to fight to the end. At the same time, Uchiha Chiyo-shan also understood the reason why Mikoto came to him alone, to apologize for almost killing him just now. The night got deeper and deeper, and the wine became stronger and stronger. After drinking up the bottle of sake brought by Uchiha Mikoto, Chiyo-shan was also a little drunk. Seeing this, Mikoto also packed up the things on the tatami and helped Uchiha Chiyo-shan to the bed. Uchiha Chiyo-shan was lying on the bed in a daze, vaguely feeling that Mikoto turned off the lights, and then there was a rustling sound. Immediately afterwards, Chiyo-shan felt a soft body come in, and his mouth and nose were filled with the intoxicating body fragrance. Uchiha Okayama woke up from the drunkenness immediately, became nervous and asked stammeringly, "Madam, what do you mean?" Uchiha Mikoto's voice is very gentle. Chiyo-shan-jun, don't you know? This is a way for me to show my allegiance to your lord. Moreover, I came here with Fugaku's consent. As he spoke, he picked up Uchiha Chiyo-shan's hand and placed it on an unobstructed peak. Furthermore, this is Mikoto's apology for what happened to Chiyo-shan-jun just now. Hearing this, Uchiha Chiyo-shan's hand seemed to grab uncontrollably. The early morning sunlight shone into the room through the window, the early birds were chirping by the window, and Uchiha Okayama slowly woke up. Yesterday was really tiring. Not only did Uchiha Chiyo-shan have to run back and forth, but he also experienced life and death. In the end, he had to toss for half the night, so he slept relatively deeply. The sun shone on Chiyo-shan's face, waking him up from his sleep. Uchiha Chio-shan slowly regained consciousness and felt something pressing on him. Chio-shan slowly opened his eyes. What came into his eyes was the dazzling white snow and the turbulent snow peaks, with a touch of bright red on them. Uchiha Chio-shan also understood what was pressing on him. Seeing that Uchiha Mikoto hadn't woken up yet, and looking at the messy room, Uchiha Chio-shan suddenly remembered the battle last night. 5 battles and 5 victories, the enemy was defeated until the enemy was unable to resist, and finally Ming Jin was still unfulfilled. Withdraw the troops and both go to sleep. Uchiha Chio-shan met Uchiha Mikoto when he was still young and in full bloom. How could he control her? The best thing about her was that she would meet you again in the spring when the flowers were falling. Uchiha Chio-shan stretched out his hand to Mikoto again. Mikoto seemed to feel something. She opened her eyes in confusion and saw Chio-shan's movements. It seemed that she still didn't understand what he was doing. Chio-shan-jun. Mikoto. Huh? Uchiha Mikoto was still a little confused. Let's give Sasuke a brother. That when Uchiha Chio-shan saw Mikoto waking up, he stopped being polite and lifted the quilt. After the morning exercise, Uchiha Chio-shan left Uchiha Fugaku's home directly, and was too embarrassed to say hello. After all, although Uchiha Fugaku agreed, Chio-shan would inevitably be a little embarrassed when facing him. The early morning sun was soft and warm. Uchiha Chio-shan hurried towards the river. That was the place he and Uchiha Shisui had agreed upon. They divided their forces into 2 groups. No matter whether they succeeded or failed, they would gather here. Inform the progress and discuss the next action plan. When Uchiha Okayama arrived, Shisui was already waiting there. Chio-shan didn't know whether Shisui succeeded, but Shisui looked a little embarrassed and tired. He probably hadn't rested all night. Uchiha Chio-shan felt a little embarrassed when he saw Shisui's tired look. After all, compared to Shisui's tiredness, he had had a good night's rest and was in high spirits. Seeing Chio-shan's arrival, Uchiha Shisui cheered up. Seeing the energetic Chio-shan, he felt confident and said straight to the point. Chio-shan, how is the plan going? Have you used the pupil technique on the Great Elder? Hearing Shisui's words, Uchiha Chio-shan shook his head deliberately, his voice a little low. I didn't use other gods against the Great Elder. When Uchiha Shisui saw Chio-shan shaking his head, his heart skipped a beat, and when he heard him say that he had not used the pupil technique on the Great Elder, he couldn't help but have an anxious look on his face. Seeing Shisui's expression, Uchiha Chio-shan stopped teasing this honest man and showed a smirk on his face. However, I have convinced the Great Elder, and the Great Elder has agreed not to encourage hostility between the tribe and the Leaf Village in the past few years. Uchiha Shisui heard Chio-shan's words and knew that Chio-shan was teasing him just now. However, the Elder's stubbornness and temper were famous in the clan. Uchiha Shisui didn't know that Chio-shan was not using the other god. How to persuade the Great Elder. Regarding Shisui's doubts, Uchiha Chio-shan explained the process in detail, and also told him the Great Elder's importance to the Mangekyo Sharingan and the reason why the Great Elder agreed. Chapter 16 Shisui, please die. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Uchiha Shisui heard what Chio-shan said and knew the Great Elder's attitude, and finally felt relieved. It wasn't until Uchiha Okayama finished speaking that Shisui sighed. I didn't expect that the Great Elder would value the Mangekyo Sharingan so much, and would even change his position for it. Uchiha Shisui looked at Chio-shan with a smile. Chio-shan, the things you do are much better than mine. It seems that I will listen to your opinions more in the future. Your strategy and overall view have always been better than mine. In addition, your eye skills and your vision are better than mine. Both the strength and the ability are greater than mine. Wherever the Uchiha clan can go, it all depends on you. Don't worry, I will fully support you. When Chio-shan heard Jisui's words that sounded like a sigh or a vow, he was no longer in the mood to joke. He looked calmly at Jisui's expectant eyes and nodded heavily. Don't worry, everything will be fine. After receiving Uchiha Chio-shan's assurance, Shisui breathed a sigh of relief, as if he had let go of a heavy burden in his heart. and then informed Shishan of his progress. I went to see the third generation last night. The third generation was very relieved of me, so things went very smoothly. According to your request, there was no major modification of the third generation's consciousness. It was just a slight modification to reduce his concern for Uchiha. The clan's attention and hostility have increased their goodwill towards the Uchiha. Also, I told the third generation about my awakening of the Manjikyu Sharingan. It was through this incident that the performance of other gods was so smooth. When Uchiha Shisui saw Chiyo-shan tap his chin lightly to express his understanding, he frowned slightly and continued. Later, I went to the root base to find Shimura Danzo. I don't know if he was too wary of me or if he was really not in the village. I waited at the root base all night and didn't see Danzo. Later, I was afraid that staying any longer would arouse his vigilance, so I came back. Uchiha Chiao-shan sighed secretly when he heard Shisui's narration. He knew that things would not go so smoothly. You must know that Shimura Danzo is a root standing in the dark. He is not as concerned as the third Hokage. Moreover, the roots he controls have been planted with the seal of Tongbane root. They are very confidential. If Shimura Danzo is caught, Shisui's Belten God is not like the third generation who slightly modified his thoughts, but is controlled like Uchiha Fugaku. In that case, it is equivalent to controlling the roots of Danzo. However, there will be opportunities in the future. Unless Shimura Danzo, the big scourge causing trouble everywhere, is controlled or eliminated, Uchiha Chiao-shan will not be able to sleep peacefully. However, Uchiha Shisui also tried his best. It can only be said that Danzo Shimura is too cunning, and we cannot blame Shisui for his lack of ability. Uchiha Chiyo-shan comforted. It's okay. As long as the third Hokage's attitude towards us Uchiha changes, even if Danzo Shimura wants to deal with us, he will be blocked by the third Hokage. After all, the leader of our village is still the third Hokage, and he still has to say what matters about the Leaf Village. It counts. As for Shimura Danzo, we will deal with him later. If we look for him too frequently recently, it will definitely arouse his vigilance. After hearing Chiyo-shan's analysis, Uchiha Shisui nodded in agreement. Then we have accomplished more than half of our planned goals. As long as there are no major changes, then our Uchiha clan can basically live in harmony with the village. Well, and there is an unexpected gain. Uchiha Chiyo-shan decided not to hide Shisui and told him about controlling Uchiha Fugaku. Seeing the questioning look in Shisui's hand, Uchiha Chiyo-shan continued. I used other gods to control the clan leader. Chiyo-shan looked up at the sky, a little embarrassed. After all, he had said before that Uchiha Fugaku was not a big threat and did not need to be controlled. Unexpectedly, he would control him next. Without waiting for Shisui to ask a question, Uchiha Chiyo-shan continued to explain. Although the patriarch has a friendly attitude towards the village, his temperament is too indecisive and his role is limited. Moreover, he is the patriarch. Only if he is in the same camp as us can we do the next thing well. Carry on. Hearing Chiyo-shan's explanation, Shisui was a little embarrassed. After all, Uchiha Fugaku was Uchiha Itachi's father, and he had always regarded Itachi as his biological brother. Now, his best friend, who could entrust his life to him, had controlled his younger brother's father, and Shisui's kind-hearted nature made him a little entangled. Of course, Uchiha Chiyo-shan understood Shisui's temper and did not leave him any time to struggle, so he directly showed his cards to Shisui. Shisui, I have something very important to ask of you next. Please agree to it. Although it may make you harder and suffer some torture, I have carefully calculated it and it is more suitable for you to do it. When Uchiha Shisui heard Chiyo-shan's words, he temporarily let go of the entanglements in his heart and listened calmly to what Uchiha Chiyo-shan said. Next, Shisui, please go to hell. Uchiha Chiyo-shan stared at Shisui with bright eyes, but what he said made Uchiha Shisui's heart beat uncontrollably. Of course, Uchiha Shisui didn't believe that Chiyo-shan would do anything detrimental to him. His heartbeat slowly calmed down, and he raised his eyebrows, signaling Chiyo-shan to continue talking. Uchiha Qiaoshan saw Shisui's expression and knew that he had not frightened him, so he said with some dissatisfaction. Well, Shisui, even if you're not scared, please cooperate. I told you to die. Aren't you scared? What's your expression? Uchiha Shisui saw Qiaoshan looking a little angry and said with a smile. I don't know you yet, but you want to play tricks on me again. I believe you. Even if you destroy the village, you will not kill me. When Uchiha Qiaoshan heard Shisui's words, he curled his lips in dissatisfaction and explained. Okay, you guessed it right. I have a plan next and I need your cooperation. In this way, our Uchiha clan can turn from passive to active. Uchiha Qiaoshan nodded, indicating that he would cooperate and allowed Qiaoshan to continue talking. Didn't the third generation already know that you opened the Manjiki Sharingan? We can let more people know about this. You said, with Danzo's attitude towards our Uchiha and greed for the Sharingan, what will happen if I know you have activated the Mangekyo Sharingan? Shisui heard what Uchiha Qiaoshan said, and then analyzed it. With Danzo's personality, he should either win over me, or kill me when I am not prepared, and then snatch my Sharingan. However, Danzo also knows that I am relatively close to the third generation, so the possibility of killing is relatively high. Chapter 17 1 Sierra Leonean Leone Ramen. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 17 Ichiraku Ramen. Uchiha Qiaoshan nodded after hearing Shisui's analysis. Yes, and then I appeared at this time, used this matter to make trouble, and made a request to move the Uchiha clan away from here, to a place far away from Konoha village. In order to appease us, the third generation will definitely agree. And then we create the barrier ourselves, so that we can escape from the surveillance of Umbu and Gen. When Uchiha Shisui heard Qiaoshan's words, he frowned and raised an objection. But the Sandaime and Danzo are not fools. They are very cunning. I will never be able to hide it from them if I fake my death. Hearing Shisui's objection, Uchiha Qiaoshan looked at him meaningfully. Sandai and Danzo are such shrewd people, coupled with the secret skills of various families in the village, how could you hide it from them if you faked your death? Uchiha Shisui was silent for a moment, his eyes as calm as water. I understand. And, Shisui, do you know the consequences of your death? Uchiha Qiaoshan continued. Our Uchiha clan will not only get out of the current predicament, but we will also have another pair of Mangekyo Sharingan. Uchiha Shisui reacted quickly. Itachi Uchiha. Qiaoshan nodded, the fragments of the future I saw, because of your death, Uchiha Itachi awakened the Mangekyo Sharingan. Now it seems that with Itachi's talent, his Sharingan should now reach the limit of the 3 Magatama. Given his feelings for you, if you were murdered for some reason, then the chance of Itachi awakening the Mangekyo is very high. Hearing Qiaoshan's words, Uchiha Shisui smiled with some relief. I didn't expect Itachi to be so promising. He awakened the Mangekyo Sharingan at a younger age than me. He will definitely be a great and powerful man in the future. When Uchiha Qiaoshan heard Shisui's words, he secretly complained in his heart, it is true to become a strong man, but there is a flaw in his mind. He was deceived by the third generation, and coupled with the threat of Uchiha Obito, he actually destroyed his family and parents, alone. Carrying huge hatred, he died alone. Uchiha Itachi is a good person, but even if he is infected with the mental illness unique to the Uchiha clan and lives in his own world, Uchiha Qiaoshan cannot bear to let him end up so miserably. However, these need to be changed slowly and slowly. Just be careful with the third Hokage, it shouldn't be a big problem. Uchiha Qiaoshan looked at Shisui, so, Shisui, for Uchiha and Itachi's Mangekyo, I can only ask you to die for real once. Shisui looked at Uchiha Qiaoshan seriously, let me confirm again, is there no other way? Do you really need me to die? Qiaoshan also responded seriously, this is the best way. Don't worry, as long as you die, I will definitely fight for the best interests of the Uchiha clan and will not let the Uchiha clan be exterminated again. I will lead the Uchiha clan to glory. Uchiha Shisui received Qiaoshan's confirmation, a relieved smile appeared on his lips, and he nodded. Okay, I promise you, but you must also protect my body. I don't want it to end up in Danzo's hands. Also, you have to keep my Sharingan. I hope it will be useful to you in the future. Help, the other gods in my left eye haven't been used up yet, so they entrusted it to you. Uchiha Choshan nodded. Don't worry, Shisui, you need to rest for a few days. I will arrange for someone to release the news about you turning on the kaleidoscope in a few days. When the time comes, Danzo will definitely come to find you, so be careful. Shisui nodded. Since he had just returned from a mission outside the village, he had so many things to do last night and had no rest. Although he was a strong man, he felt a little tired and was ready to go back and have a good rest. Chiu Shan saw that the business was almost done. Uchiha Shisui also had the intention to leave, and invited him sincerely. Shisui, we've been busy all night and haven't had breakfast yet. Let's go eat Ichiraku ramen. I'll treat you. Uchiha Okayama has no choice. Although Konoha village is quite big, it is a pity that there are few delicious food. The only ones that can be used are Ichiraku ramen and barbecue. However, which normal person goes to eat barbecue early in the morning? Besides, barbecue restaurant it won't open at this time, therefore, a steaming bowl of ramen with meat and eggs can also be very satisfying, cheering people up and facing the whole day with full energy. Uchiha Shisui didn't like drinking ramen very much, and he was not in the mood to eat it now. He just wanted to go back and rest quietly, so he declined Chiu Shan's invitation and went back alone. Uchiha Chiaoshan also understood Shisui's mood and did not force him anymore. He watched Shisui's figure disappear into the morning light. He was a little depressed that no one accompanied him to dinner. He touched his eyes that were still slightly warm and complained dissatisfiedly. Said, well, since no one is with me, I will eat by myself. I want to eat the super large deluxe version of tonkatsu ramen. As Uchiha Chiaoshan left, muttering towards the village, the usually inaccessible river became quiet again. The morning sun shone on the sparkling river, and the scenery was soothing. Although Uchiha Okayama arrived early in the morning, there were already many people in the Ichiraku ramen noodle shop. As soon as Chiu Shan came in, he shouted, Uncle Ichiraku, I want the extra large deluxe version of ramen. After shouting, Chiu Shan paused, touched his belly, and added, 2 portions, the tonkatsu one and the flavor-enhancing one. Uchiha Okayama is currently growing up, and he consumed a lot last night, so he can still eat 2 super large servings of ramen. Many of the people who come to Ichiraku to eat ramen are ninjas, and the training and extraction of chakra also consumes a lot of body energy. Especially the Akimichi clan is the biggest eater among ninjas, so Uncle Ichiraku is very good at eating. It's common for ninjas to see you. They wouldn't be surprised by such a request. At most, they would just look at you twice. Moreover, Uchiha Chiaoshan is also a regular customer of Ichiraku ramen. Since Chiaoshan became a jounin, the rewards for tasks have increased significantly. In addition, he has no worries. Chiaoshan has never treated him badly in terms of food, so he comes to Ichiraku to eat. Ramen often comes with a lot of ingredients, so Uncle Ichiraku's reaction to Uchiha Okayama's super large deluxe version of ramen was also very dull. Calamus, come out to help. Seeing that he was too busy, Uncle Yao quickly called his daughter out to help. Seeing Uncle Ichiraku starting to work, Uchiha Chiaoshan sat down and waited slowly. He glanced at the customers in the store. Well, there were no acquaintances or people he knew. After only waiting for a short while, Uchiha Okayama's ramen was ready. Iris, which was still small and wearing a white covered hat, carefully brought over his extra-large deluxe version of ramen. He placed it in front of him, his face flushed red by the heat of the ramen noodles, and he whispered, Brother Chiu Shan, your noodles are ready, be careful not to burn them. Chapter 18 Uzumaki Naruto. You are listening at novelfull.audio. As a regular customer of Ichiraku ramen, Uchiha Okayama is naturally very familiar with Uncle Ichiraku and Iris. Every time Uncle Ichiraku is busy, Iris is the one who helps add ingredients and serve noodles. If Ichiraku hadn't been Ichiraku's daughter, Iris would probably. It has been reported by everyone that it employs child labor. Uchiha Chaoshan thanked him and was about to eat the noodles when he carefully noticed that there was one more egg in the bowl than before. He looked up and saw that Iris gave him a wink, and then hurriedly went to work again, looking at the busy little Lolita who was sweating profusely, and then looking at the extra eggs in his bowl. Uchiha Chaoshan couldn't help but become happy. While eating noodles, he joked with Uncle Ichiraku, "Uncle Ichiraku, Iris has been growing since he was a child. She is so virtuous and lovely, so she must be kept by me, and when she grows up, she will be betrothed to me." Uncle Yao glanced at Iris lovingly, and while busy, he replied with a smile. "Chio-shan, don't tease my daughter. My daughter is still young. Besides, I don't know that although your Uchiha clan does not strictly prohibit intermarriage with foreigners like the Hyuga clan, it is not that easy to marry a foreigner. What's more, it is even more impossible for a famous genius of the Uchiha clan like you to be allowed to marry a foreigner." After hearing what Uchiha Choshan and his father said, Iris' already red face turned even redder. She quickly lowered her head to work, but her hands were a little panicked. Uchiha Okayama was originally teasing Iris, but after hearing Uncle Ichiraku's words, he became a little silent. What Uncle Ichiraku said was right. Even though the elder had fully supported him since he had awakened the Mangekyo Sharingan, if he wanted to marry a foreigner, those stubborn old men would definitely be the first to stop him. But yes, since you have enjoyed the help and convenience that your family has brought to you, you must take on the responsibilities of the family. And blood successor families like Uchiha and Hinata, in order to maintain the power brought by blood succession, of course must maintain the family. The purity of the bloodline will prevent the family's bloodline from becoming thinner and thinner, leading to the demise of the family. Of course, now is not the time to think about these things. It is estimated that by the time Chio-shan wants to marry a wife, his strength will have reached a level that is unattainable for others. At that time, he will not follow the rules, but make the rules. Thinking of this, Uchiha Okayama felt that the noodles in the bowl were a bit more delicious. It should be said that it is a famous food in Konoha village. The noodles are chewy, the soup is rich, and even the ingredients are excellent, unless you don't like it. Noodles, otherwise, you will definitely fall in love with this Ichiraku ramen. Just when Uchiha Chaoshan finished the noodles and was drinking soup, Xiao Eri carefully brought over the second bowl of noodles. Uchiha Chaoshan looked at Eri's red face and said thank you with a smile. After Xiao Chanpu put the noodles away, she quickly glanced at her father and found that he was not paying attention. She quietly tapped the noodles with her fingers to indicate that there was something at the bottom of the bowl. She gave Chio-shan a bright smile and turned around. Then got busy. Uchiha Chaoshan saw Iris's gesture, so he secretly picked up the noodles with chopsticks, and the contents at the bottom of the bowl leaked out. Oh my god, Uchiha Chaoshan originally wanted a super large deluxe version of ramen, and the ingredients were already sufficient. Unexpectedly, at the bottom of the bowl, another layer was spread, filled with slices of meat, meat rolls and eggs. Chio-shan was so frightened that he quickly covered the noodles again, fearing that Uncle Yao would find out and go crazy on the spot. At this moment, Chio-shan noticed that Acris glanced here. Chio-shan quickly gave Acris a thumbs up secretly to express his gratitude. When little Acris saw it, when Uncle Yao wasn't paying attention, he stuck out his tongue naughtily and said back. Chio-shan received it. With Uchiha Choshan's efforts, he finally finished the second bowl of the super large deluxe version. Chio-shan was a little reluctant to eat two super large portions, but with so many ingredients added to the next bowl, Chio-shan was finally full. After putting down the bowl, Chio-shan gave a satisfied burp, paid for the meal, said hello to Uncle Yao and Acris, and walked out. At this moment, Uchiha Choshan discovered a small figure peeking out from the door of the Ichiraku ramen store. This kid was wearing orange clothes, with golden hair, and his body and face were dirty. With a timid expression on his face, but when his sky-blue eyes looked towards the store, there was an expression of longing. Uchiha Choshan recognized at a glance that the kid wandering at the door was the protagonist of Naruto, the son of the prophecy, the son of the fourth Hokage, and the nine-tailed Jinchuriki Uzumaki Naruto, but now, he is just a somewhat stunted brat. The third Hokage hid his identity as the son of the fourth Hokage, and it was also revealed that he was the nine-tailed Jinchuriki. As a result, the villagers of Konoha village were full of malice towards him. The food he bought was always expired. Without his parents, he can only rely on loneliness and fear. He can only endure the bullying silently, and darkness will always surround him. He was originally the son of a hero, but he was treated like a prisoner. If it weren't for Naruto's identity as the nine-tailed Jinchuriki, it would be normal for him to die suddenly one day. Uchiha Choshan sighed silently, but did not approach him. The relationship between Uchiha and the village is relatively tense now. As a genius of the Uchiha clan, he can be said to be the representative of the younger generation of Uchiha. If he rashly approaches the nine-tails Jinchuriki, then the already sensitive nerves of the third generation and Danzo will be affected. After being stimulated like this, I wonder what they would do. Moreover, Uchiha Okayama's Sharingan has only reached the level of the Mangekyo, and has not yet reached the point of being able to control the nine tails. If he wants to wrestle with the nine tails, or to suppress it, he must have the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. Uchiha Choshan looked at Uzumaki Naruto's thin body, but what came to mind was the figure of the fourth Hokage. As a genius who came out of the common people, he had super talents, extraordinary fighting ability, and a sincere love for everyone. Warm treatment. If the fourth Hokage Namikaze Minato hadn't died before he could travel through time, he would have tried to save his life. Not only because of his friendly attitude towards Uchiha, but also because of his charisma. If the fourth generation hadn't died so early, the relationship between the Uchiha clan and the village would never have been so bad. Uchiha Okayama touched his pocket for the coupon that Uncle Ichiraku had just given him. Since he was a regular customer, he not only came here often to eat ramen, but also the more expensive ones, so Uncle Ichiraku often gave him coupons. Uchiha Choshan didn't look at Uzumaki Naruto anymore, and walked straight outside. When passing by Naruto, a dozen coupons fell next to Naruto inadvertently, but Uchiha Choshan didn't seem to feel it, and there was no movement in his footsteps. Without stopping at all, he walked outside. Chapter 19 My Sharingan is about to burst. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Naruto discovered it when the coupon for Ichiraku ramen fell next to him. Naruto looked at the dozen coupons. There were at least a dozen of them, which was equivalent to more than a dozen bowls of ramen. Naruto looked at the dozen coupons greedily, licked his lips, touched his dry belly, and seemed to smell the scent of ramen vaguely in his nose. Naruto looked up at the back of Uchiha Choshan, who had just dropped the coupon as he walked further away, and then looked down at the coupon at his feet, as if he was having a fierce ideological struggle. Suddenly, Naruto grabbed the coupon on the ground. Chasing the man just now. Uchiha Choshan walked slowly in the Asahi clan area. He had just eaten too much, so he just took it as a walk. I just threw the coupon for Ichiraku ramen next to Naruto, mainly because it was too hard to stand. The fourth Hokage and his wife both died because of protecting the village. Not only did the children left behind not be able to enjoy the treatment of the son of a hero, but because they were the nine-tailed Jinchuriki, the third Hokage spread the news about Naruto in order to deepen the close relationship between Naruto and him. He is the incarnation of the demon fox, causing everyone to isolate him. Although there are people who understand Naruto's identity, such as Inagacho and Hinata, they do not want to offend the third generation, will not get close to Naruto, and will not stop their own family. Children playing with Naruto. Uchiha Okayama believed that although he was not a good person, he could not do such a thing like the third Hokage did in order to control the nine-tailed Jinchuriki. Although Uzumaki Naruto is the nine-tailed Jinchuriki, he is just a little kid who doesn't understand anything, let alone the child of the fourth Hokage. Moreover, the Kyuubi itself is a collection of all kinds of dark sides, hatred, and hatred. If Naruto were not naturally kind, and the Asura's chakra in his body influenced him, Naruto would have long ago degenerated into a person who hates everything and destroys everything. Problem child. Uchiha Choshan was still thinking. At this moment, he suddenly heard someone shouting from behind, "Big brother in front, wait a minute, your things have fallen." Uchiha Choshan turned around and saw that Naruto was running over panting, holding the coupon he had just deliberately dropped in his hand. "I can't help but feel a little headache. I lost it on purpose and asked you to pick it up. Why did you come back?" Uchiha Qiaoshan didn't know if there was an ANBU secretly monitoring Naruto. In order not to arouse the sensitive nerves of the third generation and reduce his contact with Kyuubi, he had to say with a cold face. "What are you doing, kid?" Uzumaki Naruto has long been accustomed to this attitude and raised the coupon in his hand. "Brother, when you came out of Ichiraku Ramen just now, you accidentally dropped your coupon. I'll bring it to you." After hearing Naruto's words, the coldness on Uchiha Qiaoshan's face dissipated a bit. He pretended to touch his pocket to make sure, and then refused. "No need, kid. The coupon will expire in 1 month. I have already received a mission and need to leave the village. I won't be back for 2 or 3 months. If you need it, just keep it for yourself. If you don't need it, just keep it. Throw it away for me." With that said, Uchiha Qiaoshan turned and left without waiting for Naruto's reaction. Naruto saw the big brother in front of him turned around and walked away after speaking. He didn't know whether he should chase him or not. Just when he was hesitating, Naruto's stomach suddenly growled. His stomach was about to rebel after not having a full meal for 2 days. Naruto originally planned to smell the aroma at the entrance of Ichiraku Ramen and then go to the river to catch fish to fill his stomach. Unexpectedly, he had an unexpected harvest. Knowing that these coupons were not wanted by the big brother in front of him, Naruto felt relieved and kept them for himself. Naruto opened the coupons he was holding tightly in his hand. Due to too much force, the coupons had some wrinkles. Naruto started counting happily, 1, 2, 3. The more Naruto counted, the brighter the light in his eyes became. There were 20 in total, and they were all large ramen coupons. Naruto, who had picked up such a huge amount of money for the first time, was very happy. He carefully pulled out one piece and put the rest in his pocket. He happily trotted to the Ichiraku Ramen shop, holding on to his hand. Holding the coupon in his hand, he shouted loudly, "Uncle Ichiraku, let's get a big portion of ramen." The encounter with Uzumaki Naruto was just a small episode, and Uchiha Qiaoshan didn't care. It was better to let Uchiha Sasuke fall in love with him in the future. As the reincarnations of Indra and Asura, they are destined to be entangled throughout their lives. Uchiha Qiaoshan quickly walked into his home. It's just an ordinary house with a small yard. Uchiha Okayama's parents are relatively ordinary members of the Uchiha clan. His father was an ordinary jounin, and his mother was a chunin. They died in a mission when Qiaoshan was 9 years old. Therefore, he did not leave much inheritance to him, and the house left to him was also the kind of house where an ordinary family of 3 lives. After Uchiha Qiaoshan opened the door to the room and walked in, he couldn't help but rub his eyes. As the 8 hours mentioned by the system were getting closer and closer, Uchiha Qiaoshan felt more and more that his eyes were hot and swollen, and sometimes he could feel the blood vessels beating next to his eyes. Uchiha Qiaoshan can feel that it is because the power of his Sharingan is getting more and more with the awakening of his own eye technique, and as the power of his eyes increases, his Mangekyo Sharingan is somewhat affected. It felt like I was stretched out, so my eyes felt hot and swollen. As time went by, Uchiha Qiaoshan felt that his pupil technique was about to awaken, and as his pupil power increased, his eyes had uncontrollably opened the state of the 3 Magatama Sharingan, and the 3 Magatama turned more and more. The faster, it seems that the extra pupil power can be digested, the 3 Magatama of the Sharingan rotated faster and faster, and when Uchiha Qiaoshan doubted whether his eyes were about to burst, the 3 Magatama seemed to melt, changed its shape, and outlined a brand new. The shape is somewhat similar to Uchiha Shisui's Kaleidoscope, but the inside is hollowed out, and it also looks a bit like Uchiha Obito's. The ends of the pattern are slightly connected, but it may be because of the hollowing out that it looks better than Shisui's and Obito's. The kaleidoscope is much more refined. As Uchiha Qiaoshan's kaleidoscope pattern appeared, the system's voice also sounded in Qiaoshan's mind. Congratulations to the host, your Mangekyo Sharingan has finally awakened. Please check the specific functions yourself. Warning, warning, after system verification, with the completion of the awakening of the host's Mangekyo Sharingan and the completion of the pupil technique, the host's Mangekyo Sharingan has reached the limit of the kaleidoscope. After the host's Sharingan evolves into the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, please do not copy and learn the Mangekyou Eye technique before you gain the Rinnegan. Chapter 20 The Eye of Replication and Gao Tianyuan. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Hearing the system's warning, Uchiha Choshan was a little surprised and speechless. He didn't expect that his Sharingan would reach the limit of the Mangekyou so quickly. Uchiha Choshan touched his eyes, which still felt a little swollen, and turned off the Mangekyou Sharingan, and his eyes returned to dark pupils. Uchiha Choshan blinked his eyes to relieve the soreness in his eyes. He felt that the problem was not big and would return to normal once his eyes got used to it. Immediately afterwards, Uchiha Choshan closed his eyes and checked his own pupil technique. In fact, you don't have to close your eyes, it just looks dull. As expected, the Sharingan is indeed the eye that reflects the soul. The condition for opening the kaleidoscope is the strong emotional fluctuations of the owner of the Sharingan, such as the tragic death of a loved one, the murder of a loved one, betrayal, etc., because most violent mood swings are negative emotions, which is why the second Hokage believes that the Uchiha clan is an evil clan. With the opening of the Mangekyou Sharingan, bad things happen, so the Sharingan is an ominous power. However, the second-generation Hokage did not think deeply. It is the Uchiha clan's deep love, so when they lose love, their emotions will fluctuate greatly and they will go to extremes. The Sharingan is also called the Eye of Spiritual Reflection. It will awaken the corresponding pupil technique according to your strong desire. When you awaken the Mangekyou Sharingan, for example, Obito I want to create a world with Lin, so he has a space pupil technique. Shisui hopes that the village and his tribe can live in peace, so he awakens the ultimate illusion technique. Under the prompts of the system, Uchiha Choshan has been silently hinting to himself in his heart, and he has indeed obtained the pupil technique he wanted, the copying pupil. It has the same name as the pupil technique that Uchiha Choshan used to fool Uchiha Shisui before, and has similar functions. It may be due to systematic reasons that the pupil technique he awakened can no longer replicate the kaleidoscope pupil technique, but it has reached an unexpectedly powerful limit in its function of replicating other blood successor boundaries. Now, as long as his Mangekyou Sharingan is looking at the place, he can see through the illusion and reach the essence, whether it is the blood inheritance limit or the secret technique, or the kind of ninjutsu that extraordinary people can learn, as long as he is given time where you can see the process of performing the technique and copy it. However, although the pupil technique is very powerful and has a wide range of applications, it still has limitations. The blood successor limit cannot be copied without limit. In addition to Uchiha Kiwama's own Sharingan blood successor limit, 6 types can be copied. This is the limit that the Mangekyou Sharingan can be copied. However, as Choshan Mangekyou Sharingan is upgraded to the number of copies of the eternal Mangekyou Sharingan, or the Samsara Eye, should be increased. In fact, there are levels of blood succession limits, such as Senju Hashirama's wood release, Uchiha's Sharingan, Old Man Tsukuyomi's dust release, and Mizuki's Terumi's melting release and boiling release, all of which belong to the top blood inheritance limits, such as Moonlight Blast's penetration and Sand Ninja Village Yitsong's burning escape, are slightly lower than wood escape, dust escape, etc. Of course, there is no limit to useless blood inheritance, only useless people. Even if you have wood release, can you guarantee that you can become the second Senju Hashirama? The limitation of this pupil technique is that it cannot copy the blood successor boundary with a higher level than it. Of course, in the current Naruto world, we can pretend that this restriction does not exist, because there is no blood successor boundary with a higher level than the Sharingan yet. Uchiha Okayama's Mangekyou Sharingan is different from the previous 3 Magatama Sharingan. As a higher-level Sharingan awakened eye technique, various blood inheritance limits, secret techniques, and ninjutsu in the ninja world are basically everything can be copied and fed back to itself. Uchiha Choshan almost jumped for joy when he saw this. You know, in the ninja world, there are not only many bloody realms that even he drools over, but there are also many powerful ninjutsu that cannot be copied and learned just by relying on the 3 Magatama Sharingan. For example, Reikage series strengthens his own thunder escape, as well as the flying ninjutsu that is relatively rare in the entire ninja world, the light and heavy rock jutsu of the old man Tsukuyomi, and the famous flying thunder god of the 4th Hokage. These are all a ninjutsu that Uchiha Okayama has been thinking about for a long time. These ninjutsu are either top secrets belonging to other ninja villages, or they are very demanding to learn and require very high talents, and Uchiha Okayama relies on his Manjikyu-eye technique. As long as he sees it, he can easily learn it. And these ninjutsu are comparable to the blood successor boundary. No matter which one he learns, the survivability of Uchiha Chaoshan is greatly increased. Moreover, if you learn it, you will earn it. Because these ninjutsu are not limited by blood inheritance, there is no limit on the number, and there is no conflict with each other, and they can complement each other. As for secret techniques, aren't there many in Konoha village? The most famous and outstanding one should be the Ino-Shika butterfly combination. Except for the Akimichi clan's secret technique, which is related to Yang Chakra, and Uchiha Okayama's secret technique is temporarily difficult to learn, the other three families are Nara. The shadow imitation technique series of the clan is also the heart-turning technique of the Yamanaka clan. It should be easy for Uchiha Okayama, who has sufficient Ina tribute chakra, to copy it. Moreover, if your enemy is good at escaping ninjutsu or secret techniques, then if he can escape in front of you once, he will not be able to escape a second time, because you have already understood his ability when he escaped the first time. Ninjutsu, like the saint said, you can never beat me twice with the same move. Uchiha Okayama is very satisfied with this pupil technique. He now has no shortage of powerful ninjutsu. Genjutsu has the strongest genjutsu by Tenjin. The physical attack can open Gundam and Susanoo, so he is currently lacking this kind of ninjutsu that can improve himself. Shortcomings, adding various tricks to the pupil technique. Only by making up for one's own shortcomings, or weaknesses, can one go further on the road of ninja. Then, Uchiha Choshan checked the pupil technique of his other Kaleidoscope pupil technique, Takamagara, a space pupil technique that has always been rare in the Uchiha clan. Similar to Kamui, this Takamagara is also a space pupil technique. The pupil technique connects an island in an unknown space. As long as Uchiha Chaoshan activates the pupil technique, he can come to the island in this space. Different from the divine space, this space has day and night. There are water sources and plants on the island, but there are no animals. The difference between Gao Tianyuan and Kamui is that Gao Tianyuan has no incorporation, which means that he does not have the ability to put part of his body in space when he is attacked. Compared with Kamui, Gao Tianyuan can use Sharingan to mark space marks, and this space mark is invisible. It can be marked on physical objects or in the void. As long as there is a space mark, no matter how far away, Uchi Mount Buchio can be reached in an instant. It's more convenient than flying Thunder God.